you're watching Uganda Spot. My name is Beatrice Pimer. Thank you so much for joining us today. And just about now, allow me to take you through what has been making headlines on either social media, your screen, or other platforms here in Uganda and outside Uganda. To start with, just recently we had presidential nominations, we've had parliamentary nominations, then we had a presidential rally that is actually still going on up to now. Now, after presidential rally, we also have members of parliament running their rallies around in all parts of the country. But also away from that, let me take you outside. Just not so long ago in Tanzania, where we had the Gen Z protest following the election of Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, emerging the winner during the presidential race with over 90% votes. That was so hilarious, that was so outstanding for her, having a female take over again, because she has been the president, but now she is the one again that has resumed. So we congratulate Tanzania for the great move, for the good move, especially Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan. Congratulations to you. Thank you so much for the great work that you're doing. Coming back home, that is our very own country, Uganda. Something has been making rounds on social media concerning the presidential rallies. Right now, as we talk, all presidents in Uganda, I want to believe, are still carrying on their presidential rallies, or what you'd call campaigns. And of course, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is not an exception. He too has been carrying on his elections and is still. Last week, over the weekend, we had him in Mbale, and in Mbale, where he was hosted in one of the media of the radio stations, and he made a very profound statement that has caught attraction of so many people: Kenyans, Rwandans, Tanzanians, East African communities, and even outside East Africa, of course Uganda inclusive. What did His Excellency say? This is what he said. His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni expressed his frustration over what he termed to be unfair blocking of the landlocked countries from accessing the sea. Where did that come from? Why out of the blue has Museveni, or Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, brought up that conversation? Many of you have asked questions. From which angle was he coming from? Why did he say that? Is it because Mbale is just near the border? You understand Mbale, after Mbale you move to Tororo. Now Tororo is just at the border of Uganda-Kenya. Now in Tororo, just immediately few kilometers from Tororo, you move to Malaba. So Malaba is actually a border between Uganda and Kenya. Now, does it mean that at this point in time, Museveni is saying these things is just to favor him during his rally? Many of you are asking, why now that Museveni has brought in this point? We want to be delving down and understanding why did His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni right now, why has he come out to put out his frustration on the access to the sea, the access to the ocean, especially in regards to the landlocked countries? Mark you, Uganda is one of the landlocked countries. Now, using a condominium analogy, Museveni likened Africa to what we call, this is a phrase that he used. He said, me being in the upper roof and you being on the ground floor does not mean you own the compound and I don't.
In the future, we're going to have work. How can you say that you are in a block of flats, that the compound belongs to only the flats on the ground floor, that the compound belongs to the whole block?
what did His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni mean when he said that? We want to make sense of every single word that Museveni said in his statement. And here on Uganda Spot, today, we're going to be breaking down what a landlocked country is. We will be breaking down what a sea coast is, or what Indian Ocean itself is. We want to be breaking down the kind of trade or what bothers Uganda or His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, where his frustration is coming from.
Because Uganda, even if you wanted to build a navy, how can you build it? We don't have access to the sea. The political organization in Africa is so irrational. Some of the countries have no access to the sea.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make you understand, especially trying to break down why you may think His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has brought these concerns right now. Could it be frustration between, the bilateral frustration between Uganda and other countries? Because in his statement, he made mention and said, over a long period of time, Uganda has been in negotiation with Kenya. Uganda has been in a back and forth exchange of words with Kenya over oil pipeline, railway, but up to now it appears like nothing has been done. There is no success visible. There is no go-ahead that is happening. Could it be that Museveni is coming from that point?
How do I export my products? That's why we have got endless discussion with Kenya, then this one. This one stopped, then another one comes, then the railway, the pipeline, the what, we discuss. But that ocean belongs to me.
Or maybe a regional negotiation. Negotiation has totally failed. Could that be the case? Maybe it is about economic growth, or probably, let's say, economic and strategic security, which also His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni made mention of. Could that be the reason?
For economic purposes, but also for defense purposes, you are stuck.
Or maybe should we say, is it about security for the countries, especially the East African countries? Could that be His Excellency's concern? Because at this point, we as Ugandans, we are not obliged to believe that His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni had bad intentions for what he said. Yes, most of you, especially the Kenyans, have gone ahead to say this is Uganda wants, President Museveni wants to wage a war, and then they are saying this war, that the conflict that His Excellency Museveni is planning to wage does not or will not affect Kenya. Should Uganda at any point wake up to say we are starting a conflict right now, Uganda will be affected, but Kenya will not be affected. I don't know on which ground the Kenyans stand to make such a statement.
Because where is my ocean? I am entitled to that ocean. In future, we are going to have wars.
Museveni did not mean to either attack anyone. Yes, he may have said that in the near future there will be war. In the near future there will be, and mark you also in the statement, Museveni clearly made mention and said the ocean belongs to him. That is how bold, how strong, and that is how courageous he spoke his words. He did not say anything in fear of anybody. Whatever he said it with his head up. That means he understood very well the lines. He understood very well the tables that he was shaking.
So that's why I say, you people, you better unite economically for the sake of prosperity, if you want prosperity. Market. But if you want stability and also strength in the world, one country can't manage. So that's why we say, you people, why don't you look at East Africa so that you deal with the issue of strategic security? These are the 7 points in the manifesto.
After that, hearing what Museveni has said, it brings us back to understanding what a landlocked country is. Uganda that you're referring to as a landlocked country, what is a landlocked country? Landlocked countries are those countries that do not have access to the seaport. and Uganda appears to be one of them. Uganda is one of the countries that is not surrounded by water. Landlocked countries are countries that are either surrounded by land or surrounded by other countries near them, but they are not surrounded by anything like open water. There are so many of them. In fact, we have about 44 landlocked countries in the world. And in Africa alone, we have about 16 of them, making the very largest number. Africa makes the largest number of landlocked countries, 16. A few of them, we have Uganda, we have Zambia, we have Niger, we have Botswana, we have South Sudan. Like I said, they make over or about 16 of them, summing up the largest in the whole world. Having looked at the landlocked countries in the world, or in Africa as a whole, I want us to understand bit by bit the trade trend that Uganda and any other East African country had, starting from pre-colonial era. That's why we want to start from. Kindly allow me to read from this article. Before colonial boundaries, long-distance trade routes linked the interior of East Africa, including modern-day Uganda. Now, goods like ivory, hides, and slaves moved eastwards to the coast, whereas goods like clothes, beads, and spices, they came inland. Now, that was during the pre-colonial era. How about during the colonial era? That is what we call the British era. What happened? How was trade like? In the late 19th century, the British established control over Kenya and Uganda under the British East Africa Protectorate. To link Uganda with the coast, the British built the Uganda Railway, that is 1896 to 1901, from Mombasa to Kisumu. And then the post, that is the after independence. We've seen the pre, during, and now after independence. What happened? When Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania gained her independence, they inherited a shared colonial infrastructure. There was one infrastructure linking all the three countries majorly. The East African Railways Harbours Corporation was established to jointly manage the railway ports system. The East African Railway was created to join Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania to carry out their trade, to make trade easy for them, to make trade easier in terms of transportation for them. The railway, the East African, then it was the East African Railway, not just the Ugandan Railway, not only Kenyan Railway, not only Tanzanian Railway. It was the East African Railway. Take note of that. So what does that mean? This means that Uganda could still access the sea through regional cooperation. Uganda itself, like we said, being it is a landlocked country, initially did not have the right, did not have the access to the sea, except going through other countries, which in this point is Kenya. So meaning, should Uganda want to should Uganda want to trade with any other country beyond the borders of Uganda, Uganda can only go through Kenya or Tanzania. But now it appears Uganda is losing its track. Uganda is losing way, especially in transporting her goods to other countries. Uganda recently has not been using any other mean apart from one route, that is the Dar es Salaam. That's where Uganda has been making its transportation. However, the East African community collapsed in 1977. Why? This was due to political disagreement, especially during the reign of Idi Amin Dada and Julius Nyerere of Tanzania. meaning that along the way, Uganda lost its way during the time of Amin. We all know how Amin's regime was termed, how Amin's regime was known, how Amin's regime was characterized. So during Amin's regime and Julius Nyerere of Tanzania is when Uganda lost her way to the direct trade. So what happened next? Let's look at that. Right now, as we talk, Uganda has two major corridors through which it accesses the trade. How does Uganda market or manage her trade? There are two major corridors. Number one, the Northern Corridor. Northern Corridor, here we mean Uganda to Nairobi to Mombasa, that is Kenya. Uganda to Nairobi, then Mombasa. That is the first corridor or the first route that Uganda is using currently to make her trade. Then the corridor number two is the Central Corridor. The Central Corridor, here we mean Uganda to Mwanza, which is via Lake Victoria using ferry, to Dar es Salaam, which is Tanzania. Second corridor, the Central Corridor. We say Uganda now transports her trade through Mwanza, that is Lake Victoria, on ferry, and then Dar es Salaam, which is Tanzania. Those are the two corridors or the two routes that Uganda is currently using. Let me make note of this. Kenya's Mombasa port handles about 80% of Uganda's trade. But Uganda also sought to strengthen ties with Tanzania, that is the Dar es Salaam. Why? Because I think Uganda got to realize somehow Kenya is trying to tighten way for Uganda. Somehow Kenya is trying to become stingy with Uganda. So Uganda revises its way now to Dar es Salaam. Uganda revises its route now to Dar es Salaam to make work easier, to make trade easy. Yes, there have been disputes like we've heard in the audio of His Excellency. There has been unresolved disputes between Uganda and Uganda and Kenya. The unresolved disputes have led to Uganda trying to find her own way. There have been a number of scenarios where we've seen Kenya denying Uganda's product, like the other year we had Kenya denying Uganda to export her milk to Kenya. We also had a scenario of eggs where Kenya rejected Ugandan eggs from entering the country. So there has been a lot of back and forth between Uganda and Kenya. And yes, from the look of things, we see President Ruto being very friendly to Uganda. There are cases where we've seen President Ruto and His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni making amends, even signing MOUs to better the trade between these two countries. But why are things seeming to be falling apart? Why are things seeming not to be working well? Uganda strives so hard to mend relationship with Kenya, but it seems like it's not what Kenya is up to. What should Uganda do? Shall Uganda bend low for Kenya? Shall Uganda bend low because Uganda is a landlocked country? Shall Uganda be intimidated because Uganda is a landlocked country? Will Kenya walk over Uganda because Uganda needs Kenya more than Kenya needs Uganda? Because the Kenyans sound very much assured, very much confident that even when there comes rival, even when Uganda decides to wage war, they are very, very assertive to say Kenya does not lose a thing. In fact, it backfires on Uganda. One of the podcasts that I watched, a gentleman said, I never pray to become a Ugandan. I cannot pray, I can never imagine, I can never become a Ugandan. We thank God. Kenyans are Kenyans, Ugandans are Ugandans. They are confident over what they have. As Ugandans, we are confident with what we have. But whatever we do not have does not make another country step over us. Uganda by nature, Uganda by virtue of its leadership has full access, has the authority to share on the sea. Uganda has all the powers to share on the sea, to transport and carry business on the sea. Why? Because it has clearly been stated that Uganda, not just Uganda, all other landlocked countries shall use the sea, shall transport, carry out trade on the sea, on the ocean, but also respecting the territories of Kenya, given Kenya is the only state, is the state that allows outlet, is now the acting outlet. When Uganda transports from here, Kenya becomes the outlet for the trade. So does that give Kenya authority to step over Uganda? With all the relationships, with all the good times that Kenyans have had with Ugandans, the Kenyan president, Ruto, and other presidents that have been there before had the relationship that they have had with Uganda couldn't have led them to do the things that they're doing right now. Uganda may seem vulnerable, but Uganda has a strength. Uganda is strong enough to stand. The only thing Uganda needs is because Uganda has accepted we are not an island. We cannot live on our own. We need our neighboring countries. We need other countries for us to trade, for us to carry out marketing, for us to strengthen unity, strengthen security, and all these other things. That is one thing that Uganda has accepted. Having seen all this, it brings us to what has Kenya as a country said about, what has Kenya as a country said about President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni's remarks? The statement made by President Museveni, how has Kenyans, even putting aside Kenyans, let's look at Kenya as a government. What have they said? What are they saying? Are they silent about it? Has it pinched them? Has it triggered something in them? Is it something they count on? Do they also feel that Museveni is being intimidated? Is it just about his rally? Or is there something sensible Kenyan government has picked from Museveni's remark? Now, previously, we've had a number of Kenyans flood social media with so many mixed reactions, questioning why Museveni would say such a thing on a national radio station, on a national airwave. They questioned the notion why a president would say such a thing. But if anything concerns your country, does it need concern the president? If anything affects your country, does it affect you as a leader of the country? So with so many mixed reactions, Kenyan government too came out to say something. This is what they said.
Will not comment much on what His Excellency President Museveni said with respect to our oceans, but I believe very much that he does have a fairly great understanding with respect to the nature of our territory, and the nature of our right with respect to our natural resources, and his right with respect to natural resources within Ugandan territory.
For the President of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, to come out at this particular time to specifically hint of a looming war between Uganda and Kenya, to reclaim, or to claim, let me say to claim, what he terms as rightfully belonging to the Ugandans, then it becomes quite absurd, and I would call it deeply dangerous.
I don't think President Museveni will want to draw Uganda into yet another war soon. And of course, this time now, an international war away from the internal conflicts in Uganda. And I think Ugandans are also aware of this, and history has it that when Uganda waged war against Tanzania in 2 occasions, it suffered most during the War of Mutukula of around 1969-67, and then the Sabasaba War of 1977.
In addition to what the government has said, some other Kenyans have come out to actually say, how will Uganda be able to even transport its goods, even when they are given the access to the ocean? What would make them say that? Because they feel Kenya is a giant country. So what if Kenya, being the outlet, still denies Uganda an access? But question is, why would even Kenya deny Uganda access? Because truth be told, if only Uganda, Kenya, if only Kenya can open up to Uganda, can open up its source for Uganda, Uganda can be able to carry out trade very well and smoothly without anything else. Any other landlocked country does not need a permission to use the sea, does not need a permission to use the ocean. Why? Because they have the right to use the ocean only, respecting Kenya's sovereignty as the only channel, the only outlet that they would use while carrying out their trade. So in all this, question is, what are Ugandans saying? What are Ugandans' perspective towards what His Excellency said? Yes, like it is in Kenya, Ugandans still have mixed reactions. Why are there mixed reactions in Uganda? There are mixed reactions because right now, as we all know, Uganda is heading towards its election. Next year, 2026 in January, Uganda will be voting. And right now, as we talk, the country has been divided. There are people that have shown interest in His Excellency Museveni. There are people that have shown interest in Chagulanyi, Robert Sentamu. There are people that have shown interest in any other political party that is not just the NRM of Museveni. Now that explains why there has to be mixed reaction. The division between Ugandans explain the mixed reaction, especially after the statement made by Museveni. While others say he is using that to favor himself during the time of his rally. Others are saying he has the right because either way he is still the head of state of Uganda. Others say he could have said that because he wanted to please the people of Mbale. But you as a person, what do you think? What do you say? What should he have said? That's why it's a right of every Ugandan citizen that Uganda is yours. Uganda is yours. It doesn't matter which race, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. And so long as you are a Ugandan, like I said, Uganda is yours. So take pride in Uganda, love Uganda, stand strong for Uganda, believe in Uganda, trust in Uganda, sell Uganda, market Uganda, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which president comes in, which president sits on the throne. The question is, how much do you have Uganda at heart? Thank you so much for watching. It's been me, Beatrice Pimer. This is Uganda Spot.